So we're live, Dodie. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you today?
I am fantastic. It's obviously quarantine and it kind of makes everybody sad, but we just got to make the best of it, right?
Yeah, take it day by day, and there's some joy to be found in every day.
That's right. That's right. So as people are coming on, we can share some of how we're connected. We're in a BNI networking community together.
Mm-hmm.
We are both students at US Taekwondo. Give a shout out to Sabanim Lee, Master Lee.
And Master Park and Master Peho.
And Master Park and Master Peho and Grandmaster Lee.
Yes, of course, Grandmaster Lee. All our great instructors.
Yes, maybe we can get him to come interview.
Absolutely. That would be cool. We should do that.
That would be super cool. So we're Taekwondo students. We're working on that journey together with our families. And we're also prior military. So yes. You were in the military. So why don't we go ahead and get started and talk about who you are and what you do, Dodie, and let's share what your background is and where you come from. So you were in the military?
I was full-time in the Army Reserve.
Hooah.
Yep. So I did recruiting and retention. So a lot of paperwork, nothing really exciting. I only had one deployment to Honduras, but I understand how to look through performance evaluations, how to look through award recommendations, and help people put together their career documents. So that's what, I'm glad I got to serve, but that's what I can help people do is translate their military experience into civilian speak.
Wow. Okay. So you work with a lot of vets?
Probably about 20% of my clients are veterans,
okay.
All the services. I've also worked with uniformed members of the Public Health Corps, which has been really neat.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good morning, everybody. If you are going to post a comment, please do so. Allow StreamYard to access your computer so that you can post and we know who you are and we can bring it up on the screen. I'm Ronnie Haskins. This is Dodie Thompson. Today we are talking with Peak Resumes. She is the owner of that company and has been building it for over 15 years. And we are doing this because we like to support local business. We like to talk to other business people and see what they're doing in the community and also find ways that we can help them. As part of my mission in life, I like doing it and I have fun doing it. So if you're ever thinking why I'm doing this, this is why.
Thanks for having me on today.
You're very welcome, Dodie. So we've gotten a little bit of your background, but we find you coming onto the show right now in a very critical time. Over 12 million people are now unemployed, which is devastating to our economy. I know we don't know how this is going to affect us over the next few years, but obviously, people are going to be looking at different job options or looking at different means of employment. So today you were going to show with us what people can quickly do on their own to update their LinkedIn profile.
Right.
Why don't we go ahead and start there if you want to share with us on that?
Right. So most people are familiar with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a form of social media, but it's the career side of social media. So it's very different from Facebook. And there's some key areas that folks can do to optimize their LinkedIn profile and hopefully make themselves worry less about how to position themselves going forward as we come out of coronavirus. So the first one is the photo. That's your first impression. It's hard to get right now. It's hard to get with a professional photographer, but you probably have someone in your family that can help you take a nice picture with your cell phone, with your digital camera. That's not a selfie, because those are always very awkward trying to hold your phone out at the right distance. If you don't have someone to help you and you have to use your computer camera, make sure there's nothing distracting in the background. Take several pictures so you have something to choose from. And if you're using your computer, make sure you're looking at the camera on the computer and your eyes are not down looking at the screen. Because if you're looking at the screen, you're not looking at the person now. And so there's a very different perspective in where your eyes go. So make sure you have a good, clear, in focus, professional photo, the best that you can do given the circumstances right now. Next area is the headline. And that appears below your name on the banner. This one of the first things people will see. It's 120 characters, and the headline establishes your brand message. So you don't want it to default to your current job. There's nothing wrong with talking about your current job, but that doesn't give a summary of who you are. So create a good headline that establishes your brand message.
Is that right underneath the name on the LinkedIn profile? I'm looking at my profile now. So it's like Ronnie Haskins, and then underneath that is the headline.
Right. And if someone hasn't entered a headline, it's going to default to your current job. And so you can go in there and edit that.
What do you recommend they put in their headline?
So it's good. It would be a tagline. It would be a summary of what you've done. So for your company, you probably have a tagline, but for someone who doesn't own their own business, they might use keywords that describe who they are. For example, if you're in human resources, your headline might say human resources professional, or SPHR if you have that certification. And you might have some other keywords, benefits, labor relations, things like that describe who you are, what you can do. It's like a tagline. Everyone knows what Nike's tagline is.
Just do it.
Right. So
mine is I'm just as bad as whatever. I mean, because mine says owner at Auto Search USA. It's like I don't have a tagline.
So what is your Auto Search USA tagline?
The search for the perfect car starts here.
There you go. That should be your headline.
Oh, that's what I meant. Headline. I have a tagline, so I need to remove that and put the search for the perfect car starts here. Mm-hmm. See, this makes sense now. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, because I get that. That's the question I get every single client. So that's a really good question. So if you think of a headline, it's like the opening to a newspaper article or a magazine article.
Yeah.
It draws the reader, it draws them in. Why should they look at this LinkedIn profile?
Right.
So if you don't work for a company that has a tagline, you can create your own based on your career and your keywords.
You know what's funny is sometimes people will email me or connect with me on LinkedIn, or they'll call me and my phone has grabbed their information from the internet and it'll say baker at Tom's Bakery. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this dude is not a baker at Tom's Bakery. Like I know him. He works at this particular place. Is that because they don't update this stuff? And so it just whatever it happens?
Or if it's a common name, the search engine, little spiders that go out might be grabbing multiple things.
Okay.
But if they don't update their job on LinkedIn and it's primarily pulling from LinkedIn, it's going to be old information.
Got it. Okay, great.
Yeah. And so, how do you create a headline? You sit down and you take a few minutes to look at what's my job, what are some keywords, and how would I introduce myself? So you wouldn't introduce yourself necessarily with your old job, but kind of a summary of what you bring to an employer.
Okay.
So if we keep going down through the LinkedIn profile, the next section I would recommend people look at is the about. It used to be called summary, but they changed it to about, and it kind of reflects websites because, on a website, it'll be about us. And so this is 2,000 characters where you can expand on your brand message. We've established it in the headline. Mm-hmm. And then down in the about section, we want to expand in it until it's a narrative. LinkedIn is social media. So use complete sentences. Talk about yourself. But remember, we're going to look at it on the computer, but also on our mobile devices. So you want to have white space in there so you don't have a big block of text.
Like a big run-on sentence that makes your eyes cross?
Right. And that's
you don't want that.
Yeah. So compose your content on Word and put those returns in there. Hit the enter bar so you have some space between.
Compose it on Word. Okay.
So the about, remember, it's a summary. It's the things you've done throughout your career. You might expand on some of your keywords. You might talk about some projects that you worked on that are relevant to a reader. Always think about who's reading your information and write from that perspective, because you want to capture their attention, especially if you're a job seeker, so that they reach out to you and they say, oh, you've got what we need. I need this person on my team. Who's
your audience, right?
Who's your audience? Always think about who your audience is. So it could be, but if you're high-level sales or customer relationship management or business to business, it might be another business who is your audience. So always have that in mind.
I have a question about this. In this day and age, like mine reads like a stale resume as I'm looking at it. Entrepreneur ownership demonstrates history of this. It's like, ugh. Should it tell a story instead of be like these are the facts about me? But like, I would like this to tell a story. Is that something you recommend too?
Absolutely, because LinkedIn is social media. Okay, it's not Facebook. but you should tell a story. It's a narrative. So
it's professional, but still, it should still read.
yes, yes.
Okay.
You want to capture their attention because, in this digital age, we have, 6 to 10 seconds to grab someone's attention. They're going to scroll, scroll, scroll.
Right.
So if we're using you as an example and someone says, why should I do business with Ronnie Haskins? Do they care that you have strong negotiation skills?
No, that might run them away.
Right.
Because they're like, oh boy, we're going to lose a negotiation to this guy.
Right. Right. So we've established your brand message in your headline. The perfect place to find a vehicle. And then you need to come down and tell them more about the company, why they should do business with you, how you've helped some clients.
Got it.
You have 2,000 characters to tell a story. That's lots and lots of space.
I am cringing at my LinkedIn profile right now. I'm like, good grief, man. This needs a lot of work.
Right. But, you could sit down for, maybe set aside an hour in your schedule, attack it like it's a project. And this is what I tell all my clients, people that come to me for help. Treat this like it's a project. So, Wednesday morning at 9:00, I'm going to work on my LinkedIn profile for an hour. And when that hour's up, I need to go on and do something else. And that way you've got progress. You're moving forward. You have that sense of accomplishment, and you've helped yourself with something that's critical to your career.
Yeah.
So the about section for someone who's not a business owner, how do they write it? Summarize some things that you've done throughout your career. If you've only had one industry field, talk about the years of experience, not more than 10, because you don't want to date yourself. Maybe the types of industries you've worked in. Like if you've been in HR, but you've been in HR in consumer products, in manufacturing, in something technical, you can talk about knowing those different areas.
Okay.
If you're someone who's had a job in multiple industries, look for the common thread. Look for the things you've done. Maybe it's project management. Maybe it's problem solving. Maybe it's leadership. And talk about that. Again, this is kind of high level. We're not down in the weeds yet. But also bring forward some results and accomplishments that demonstrate not only can you do a job, but how well you've done that job.
How did you place that? Summarize what? Your accomplishments?
Your accomplishments, your results.
Okay.
The things you've done. If you can put numbers to it. Like this is really easy for salespeople.
So just go through like 10. You said no more than 10 because it dates
10
us.
years. No more than 10 years, yeah.
10 years. Okay.
Yeah. Because you don't want to date yourself.
I like it. That is very interesting. I've never really looked at a LinkedIn profile that way.
It's part of your digital calling card.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. I hope you guys out there are getting stuff out of this because this is great, Dodie. This is great. What's next? What would you do next after the about section?
So the next one is drop down to your current job and really, really focus in on that. Each of your jobs, you have 2,000 characters to write that story. But if people are feeling overwhelmed and, oh my gosh, how am I going to get it all done? Again, tackle it like it's a project. So when you sit down the next time to work on LinkedIn, focus on the current job because that's where readers are going to be looking at.
So that's under the experience section, right?
Right.
Got it. Under the experience section is where your current job is and your other stuff. So,
So again, you've got 2,000 characters to describe what do you do for this company? And not only what do you do for the company, what do you do for the clients of that company?
Okay.
Because if someone is thinking about, do I want to do business with them or do I want to hire them? What have you brought to the team? What have you brought to the table?
Okay.
How was success measured in that job? And describe that. And so we're not looking at it from the me perspective. We're looking at it from the employer perspective or that other business partner's perspective.
So for someone like me, is it something like that would attract employees as well?
If that's what your need is to attract the bulk of what you do, it's why should someone do business with you? Why should a regular consumer come to Ronnie? And so you've given them a little summary in the about section and in the auto search USA, I've helped a client do this, or someone encountered this.
Okay.
They experienced this in trying to get a loan, and this is how we walked them through it. This is why we're different than, it's more of a concierge service is what you do. It's not high pressure. It's very personal. You're taking the stress away from your clients. And so those are the things that you would want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when you drop down, I would summarize everything that's not auto search and just say, you've got 5 years experience in this environment, in the dealer environment. This is what you've learned. Focus on the good things. This is what you've learned. This is what you can bring forward and how it informs what you do now. And then anyone that's a veteran, because we live in, a military community, keep that on there, even though it was a bit ago, but because you understand where they're coming from. You understand the challenges our veterans and our military population face, and you can talk the language. And also some of the pitfalls.
I went in June of '88, not June of '89. There you go. I just updated that.
So, your education at some point, I would leave the dates off because it's going to date you.
Really?
Yeah. So go ahead and leave the dates off.
It is, for me, it is definitely dating me. I mean, this is before most people were alive when I was in college.
Yeah. So I would just leave it off. But if you have any other workshop skills, training that would be relevant, for example, anything that's how, on loans and navigating that, on anything on financing.
Oh, yeah. See, I've never done that. I've never really posted that on my stuff. But yeah, I'm very, very skilled at that.
Yeah, because then you're going to help your clients navigate that. And that's hard for some people. It's scary for other people.
Yes. People just want the information from somebody they can trust,
They can trust, yes. And this is how you're building trust. Whether you're a business owner or a job seeker, you're building trust. So a couple other things I want to talk about on LinkedIn is you can continue working on those other job areas, but give someone who's looking at your profile a way to contact you easily. There is a button that says contact, but you have to click, whether on your computer or on your phone. The way LinkedIn is set up, you have to navigate away from wherever I'm at. So for example, for you, if I'm looking at your about section, there's no way for me to contact you.
Right.
So put in your phone number, your email, your website.
All in that about section.
Yes. You might even consider having the website if it fits in your headline.
Right.
So for job seekers, how are they going to do that? Because once they put their phone number out there in social media, do they want everyone to know it? They kind of have to make that decision for themselves. Or they have an email that's only for the job search purposes. First name, last name, nothing unprofessional, but make it easy for an employer or a corporate recruiter to find you and contact you.
That's a good idea. A unique email just for this particular function.
Yeah. And if you're a job seeker, if you have 2 separate emails, you can keep friends and family separate from your job search. And with this device, it's so easy to manage multiple emails.
Nice. You're right.
So that's some high level things that folks can do on their own and really optimize that LinkedIn profile.
Got it. Okay, great. So I wish I was taking notes so I could pop it all back up on the screen for people, because this is a lot of golden nuggets you drop in today, Dodie. But you wanted to talk about your CAR system. That's an acronym?
Right. So a lot of folks say, how do I write about myself? It's really hard. I feel like I'm bragging. Or I'm in a team and it's not just me. Well, number one, if you stick to the facts, it's not bragging. And if you're on a team, it's okay to write about it in terms of a team. But what does CAR mean? CAR is an easy way to bring in your quantified results and write bullets. This is really focused on the resume, to write bullets that are tight and to the point, and they don't run on and on and on. So CAR means challenge.
Let me put that up there. So C is challenge.
And that could be a project you worked on, a task that you were assigned, or an initiative. Hey, if we work on this and change it, we'll have a positive outcome. So CAR is the challenge.
Okay.
The second one is A, and that's action. And obviously, these are going to be the verbs in the resume, the things that you did to work on the project, to resolve the problem, to take that initiative from start to finish.
What action you took to make that project go.
Right. And on resume writing, you're going to start with an action verb, not anything that's responsible for or an adverb or an adjective. You're going to start with managed, led, drove, like, drove a project. So start with an action verb in your bullet.
Okay.
So we have challenge, the context, we have the action, what did you do? And then the R is the result. What happened as a result of you managing that project, taking the initiative to fix something, resolving a problem? It could also be called accomplishments.
Okay.
So results we want to talk about in terms of dollar amounts, percentages, numbers. That means to quantify those results. When we put those numbers in there, dollar amounts, percentages, whatever it is, we're giving the reader an idea of this is a task you can do, and this is how well you do that task. And that's going to differentiate you from everyone else who really focuses on the task alone.
Got it.
Yep. So CAR is an easy way to write your bullets.
So let me put it back up. So the CAR system is your tool that you designed, and
I didn't design it.
You didn't design it. Okay.
This has been out there for years.
I've never heard of it.
A lot. Well, if you're not a resume writer, you might not. So I didn't create it. I just preach it because it is such an easy tool to write those bullets.
Yeah.
So let's take it beyond the resume. You have an interview and you're a little bit nervous. Everybody gets nervous in an interview and they're asking you questions. And sometimes like you feel, how do I talk about that? Or it's a question.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So how do you phrase your answer? Go back to CAR. So this is a challenge I encountered.
The CAR system. Okay.
At my job. This is what I did to take care of that project, that problem, that initiative. And as a result, this is what I delivered. So it helps you in the resume frame your responses in a very focused way. Helps take that nervous level down.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anybody is wondering why they should hire you, this is super clear. Like, we don't spend our time looking at these things. Like just looking at my LinkedIn site or Facebook page, it's like, I'm not using any of these things. So, definitely we can probably talk offline about how we can implement some of your stuff with my business, So I hope this is very helpful for other people out there because it's crazy. The information that you have, Dodie, you're very, very skilled.
Well, thank you. And if they didn't take notes and they didn't quite catch it, I've got helps and hints on my website. I've got articles on my LinkedIn profile that they can look at. And some of the things that we've gone over today are already there. And they can just look at those articles and get that help.
Well, we have a lot of questions here. So let's go ahead. And it's really cool, Dodie. I can put these questions up online like this. And this is a friend that's in town. He's an electrician. He also has a YouTube channel called Medically Fit. His name is Ian. Ian is a really cool dude. So his question is, what are employers really looking for in a resume?
They want to know that you're the qualified candidate for their job. Most employers, when they put a vacancy announcement out there, why? Because they're one person down. They're short. They need help. And they need to know quickly, can you come in and do the job that I need? So that's really what they're looking for. Everything else is packaging. But are you going to come in and do the job that we need with minimal training? Or are you demonstrating that you're trainable to do the job that we want you to do?
Right.
Yep.
Next question. Do I really need a cover letter with my resume?
It depends. There's some times on online applications when you don't have the opportunity to include a cover letter. But for most times, I recommend people prepare a cover letter. It introduces you to the employer, why you're writing, what particular job you are bringing, and maybe 3 to 5 of your most relevant skills that employer needs. So think about it like a conversation. You wouldn't come up to somebody and start in the middle of the conversation, which is what the resume does. You would introduce yourself to this new person.
Yeah.
And some of those key pieces of information that need to be relayed. So it depends, but have a cover letter ready that's targeted for that employer. Never use a template or boilerplate cover letter. Those are not effective.
Awesome. The next question. Does a resume really matter in different industries such as construction and manufacturing? Have you heard that one before, Dodie?
I don't. Yes, the resume matters. I'm wondering if he's asking, do I need to tailor my resume for different industries? I'm not sure. Maybe he can hop on and clarify that question.
All right, we'll come back to that one.
But in terms of tailoring a resume, think about it. If you have a size 7 shoe, but somebody's looking for a size 6 and a size 9, that size 7 is not going to fit everybody.
Right.
So you need to have a resume that addresses an employer's needs. So manufacturing, look at the vacancy announcement. What are they needing out of a candidate, and address those needs?
Address those with the car system.
Right. And sometimes those skills are transferable from manufacturing to maybe IT, depending on what you're doing. For example, project management can go to any industry. But if you're a machine operator in one industry, that might not translate into a sales job on the surface. So look at what the employer wants and address the employer's needs.
Or they can hire you.
Or they can hire me.
We're not a big sales show, but we should point that out a few times on the show that you're a professional and you get this stuff done. But right now, what we're trying to address is this is a crisis situation. Here's what you can do at home.
Mm-hmm.
If you get to the point where you want to talk to Dodie, please reach out to her. We're going to have this linked on our page. He's got another great question though.
Okay.
This one: how long should my resume be?
Should I put every job I've held? That's a great question. I get that probably every single day. There's a lot of advice is 1 to 2 pages, depending on your experience and how qualified you are for that job. Some people have interpreted that to mean, I can only have one page, or I can only have 2 pages. That's general advice because HR people and corporate recruiters only have so much time to review these resumes. But I recommend you focus on relevant content that addresses the employer's needs. Sometimes that's going to be 1 page. Sometimes that's going to be 2. Occasionally, it'll be more than 2 pages. If you have relevant content that addresses the employer's needs, they're going to continue reading it.
Okay.
Think about a book, a magazine article, an article on the web. If it's interesting, you're going to read it. But if in the first few lines, they don't have your attention, you're moving on.
Right.
Same with the resume. So don't worry so much about page length. Focus on relevant content.
Right.
The second half of this question, should I put every job I've held on my resume? Depends if it's relevant to the employer's needs. Some folks are career changers, and things they did earlier in their career are no longer relevant. They're not going to bring those skill sets forward. It would be okay to leave that off. So look at the employer's needs and your career and make sure it aligns.
Definitely. So Danny Ramos, who has been putting some questions in here too, he wants to add to this question. So he's like, add to that question, you should also have jobs on your resume that were under the table.
Do you mean if you're an independent contractor or you didn't get
assume something that they did for cash, so like it's not really quantifiable with W-2s and tax returns or whatever, but they were working in the community for cash.
So if that experience is relevant going forward to the potential employer. So say somebody worked for you and they, in whatever capacity.
Yeah.
But the job they want to do now is IT.
Mm-hmm.
They went from sales, they're going to IT. They didn't do any IT with you. Probably not relevant.
Not relevant. Okay.
Yeah. So it depends. Is it relevant to the targeted employer?
All right. I got another question from Medically Fit. Is there a better resume template to use that employers look for?
So let's not think about a resume like template. There's some things that need to be on the resume and a standard order that they go in. Have to have your name, have to have your contact information. You have to have your work experience. You have to have your education and training. And a lot of people at the top, they have a summary. That's nice to summarize, some key things. As long as you have those, whatever template design you do, that's the packaging around it to make it look nice.
Nice. Now, you said something to me I saw earlier, like, these guys are talking about listing all of their jobs. But when you were talking about LinkedIn, you were like, be careful not to date yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Go back. So what about the jobs? Like for me, last time I had a job was 1993. So, that would really date me. What do you have to say about that?
So I would consider again if it's relevant, because that's
relevant, right?
For
Okay.
you as in the military, we're in a military community. I would just have, your service, you're in the Army, what you did, and leave it at that. Leave the dates off.
Okay. I have one here from Joanna Gonzalez, who is a Taekwondo student in U.S. Taekwondo. You know her, right?
She's at Stetson or Citadel, I think.
Stetson with me. She's with us. So she says, what if there are no measurables? About LinkedIn, what if there are no measurables?
Sometimes there are not ways to quantify something that you did. IT is a really good example. You have to implement a project, but it doesn't lead to sales necessarily. Sales is an easy example. Talk about the scope of the project. How many people were on the team? If you had a leadership part of it, if part of this project, there was a little problem that you helped solve.
Got it.
Try to give more details that go beyond responsible for or just the tasks. I did A, I did B, I did C.
And I think you answered this one. Here's another one. I read a posting on LinkedIn. Here's one. This is from Facebook. Another Taekwondo student.
Same, Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, so she read a job posting on LinkedIn that fit about 80% of what the job description is asking for. Should she still apply if she's not 100% qualified for the job?
Absolutely, because you probably have transferable skills from other areas of your career that you can bring forward to that team. Mm-hmm. And remember, we talked about you want to show that you're coachable?
Yes.
So even if you don't have 100% of the skills, but you can do it and you're passionate about it, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, that's I hope that answers your question, Christine. We've got a bunch of questions. I hope you got some time.
I do.
I think we answered this one. What if I'm changing careers? How should I get my resume to show experience in a new industry?
So look for those transferable skills. There's probably common things you've done throughout your career, common themes that you've done throughout your career.
Right.
Draw those out. And bring those, have them more emphasis on those. And one thing Danny asked earlier was, we were talking about under the table things, and
right.
A similar question is, what about my volunteer experience? I didn't get paid.
Yeah, that's under the table, right?
Yeah. Well, people think I didn't get paid for it, so therefore I shouldn't include it.
But Habitat for Humanity, I mean, I've helped build a house, that kind of stuff. That might help transfer into a contracting job,
Exactly. You've gained skills in that volunteer experience that you can take forward. It all goes back to, is it relevant to the targeted employer? So don't forget about your volunteer experience too.
Danny's got another pretty good question. How should you demonstrate that you are trainable in a resume cover letter?
Mm-hmm. So in the cover letter, talk about some projects that you've been entrusted with. You might not have been the leader, but you were assigned to that project. Show some things that you took the initiative on. Hey, if we change a procedure, this is going to be the positive outcome. You brought that forward, even though you weren't the leader or the manager, you brought that forward.
Yeah.
So maybe you were selected for a project, you were assigned to a team, you helped solve a problem. You on your own took classes and courses to be a better employee. The company didn't pay for it. That demonstrates that you're trainable and coachable.
Well, that's funny because Danny just put this up there that you answered a minute ago. Volunteering and coaching. And then this one's for you from Christine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We can't wait to see you again, Christine and Joanna at the Dojang. We are all just dying here in our offices, but we're fine. So this is great. Did you have anything else you'd like to add, Dodie?
Just don't give up. Right now we have a lot of uncertainty that we have to live through. But if you're worried about your resume, you're worried about your LinkedIn profile, like I said, approach it like it's a project. Set aside time to work on it, and then you're going to get a little traction. You're going to see that, hey, I've improved my documents, and that's going to give you some confidence.
Right. So I think that I knew you would be a great interview because, it just so happened, like we had scheduled this, just so you guys know, Dodie and I scheduled this like months ago.
Last fall.
It was like months ago that we were like, okay, let's put it in the calendar and let's do this interview. And it just so happens that 12 million people are out of work right now. And we're talking about how you can improve your LinkedIn and your resume and stuff like that. So don't forget, guys, if you're watching from YouTube, subscribe to the channel because we're going to do more stuff like this. And I'll still talk about cars. We're going to talk about cars today at 11. Me and Bonnie are going online to talk about what's going on with the auto loans and leases and all of that stuff. But I really enjoy doing this with business people in town. If you need to reach out to Dodie, please visit peakresumes.com. She is local. I definitely vouch for her. I've seen her and I'm connected to her in a lot of different ways in this community. And she's a powerhouse, as you have just seen in this particular field. So, and also check out my LinkedIn later because me and her are going to work on this and it's going to blow up. Because I'm just like, oh, Dodie, my LinkedIn is horrible.
But it's fixable. It's totally fixable.
It's fixable. So, yeah. Well, did you have any final comments for everybody?
Just people that have called me and, I've chatted with recently, they're worried. They're worried. So I would say this, embrace uncertainty. Some of the most beautiful chapters in our lives won't have a title until much later.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dodie. We should probably do a follow-up down the line.
Yes.
And maybe we could even bring up a LinkedIn on the screen and go through it. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Glad to help.
All right. Well, I will see you at Taekwondo soon. And you have a great day.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.